against the wall and just slide down. You already know, car show going down June 7th. Get online right now, get your tickets right now. But for the hustlers, I want y'all to understand you gotta stop making business personal.
The streets have been buzzing non-stop since news broke that Big Meech is not feeling Rick Ross. And this time, the reason had everybody shook, because sources say Meech reportedly lost it when he discovered Ross was linking up with 50 Cent, teaming with the same guy who turned the BMF saga into a TV empire and raked in millions off the Flannery family name. For Meech, that was the final straw. He felt Ross crossed the line that should never have been crossed. And now, the entire culture is watching closely.
Away from the Big Meech concert, get your tickets right now. Make sure everybody flying to the city for this. It's gonna be.
You gotta know the history to understand why Meech reacted like that. Back in 2010, Rick Ross dropped BMF, Blowing Money Fast, one of the biggest hits of his career. That song wasn't just popular, it became a full-on cultural moment, a lifestyle anthem. The hook, the energy, the boss talk, it all revolved around Meech's name. Ross made serious money from it, used it to boost his ultimate boss image, and rode that wave for years. But through all that success, Meech has always been strict about who touches the BMF brand. He don't like people twisting it or using it just for clout. And Ross linking up with 50, that hit him as pure disrespect times 10.
Never folded, never told, never will. Death before this.
Because here's the twist. Rick Ross and 50 Cent have been at odds for over a decade. They've had one of the longest running beefs in hip-hop history. Diss tracks, lawsuits, interviews, personal jabs. It was real conflict, not some social media stunt. So when fans started noticing Ross and 50 moving in the same circles lately, working with overlapping business contacts, and reportedly plotting BMF-related moves, it hit like a bomb. People were like, wait, Rick Ross teaming up with his old enemy and cashing in on BMF again?
BMF film because you've been entertained by a lackluster, small budget series. Now it's time to do a big budget film.
That's why Meech reportedly lost it. From his perspective, Ross has been leveraging the BMF name for over a decade. First in music, now in business, and now he's doing it alongside 50 Cent? That's messy. Meech might respect 50 for telling the BMF story, but that doesn't mean he wants Ross, who built his whole boss persona off BMF energy, partnering with the one guy who controls the Hollywood version of his life. It's like watching someone cook with your secret recipe and not even being allowed in the kitchen. Sources close to Meech said he felt blindsided. He didn't approve it, he didn't like it, and he absolutely didn't appreciate Ross acting like he suddenly belongs in the official BMF business circle. To Meech, that's someone trying to rewrite history without permission. And when Meech feels played, yeah, he snaps. This isn't just two rappers teaming up. It's about legacy, loyalty, and someone crossing a line Meech never wanted touched. People are going to be disappointed when Lil Baby doesn't show, Skill doesn't show, Vizzo doesn't show, and all the others appear. To get why this hit so hard, you have to understand the tangled relationship between Big Meech, Rick Ross, and 50 Cent. Fans often forget these three have been orbiting each other for years, connected through music, business, and legacy. Anytime that triangle forms, tension is inevitable. But with Ross's recent moves, that tension exploded. Years ago, Rick Ross built an entire empire off that boss energy, luxury lifestyle, stacks of cash, private jets, mansions, total control of his world. That persona didn't come from nowhere, it came straight from Big Meech's real-life blueprint. Meech lived the lifestyle Ross rapped about. Meech moved with the power and influence Ross portrayed. Fans always said Ross mirrored BMF energy, and to be honest, he never denied it. He embraced it, and he turned it into major profit.
This giant welcome home concert
I told you it was
was
gonna get
canceled.
What'd I tell you?
The bill was
What did
insane.
I say?
The list of artists on it was.
But here's where it gets messy. For years, Ross never fully aligned with the real BMF family. He shouted out Meech, sure, but behind the scenes, the connection wasn't as close as the music suggested. Meech appreciated the recognition, but he didn't like how Ross was taking the energy without truly involving the family. And that's exactly why this rumored new partnership between Ross and 50 Cent is bothering Meech. Because if Ross genuinely respected the movement, he would have checked with Meech before making any BMF-related moves with 50. Meanwhile, 50 Cent is a whole different story. 50 didn't just shout out Meech, he created an entire TV franchise around the BMF saga. He gave Lil Meech a major acting break. He brought the BMF legacy into mainstream culture. But even so, there's always been a tricky dynamic between 50 and the real BMF family behind the scenes. Some think 50's version of BMF is too Hollywood. Others argue he's the only one keeping the story alive. Now imagine Rick Ross, who's been beefing with 50 for years, suddenly stepping into 50's world to make moves around the same story he once said inspired him. That's the exact move that rubbed Meech the wrong way.
A stand-up dude doing his time would suddenly say, I don't want to be here no more. I'm gonna become.
Sources say Meech felt Ross was moving sneaky, linking up with 50 quietly, showing public love to 50's team, and sharing the spotlight in ways that made it seem like Ross was becoming an official voice of the BMF legacy. But Meech didn't crown him that. Meech didn't tell him he could speak on his life. Meech didn't approve of any partnership. People close to Meech said he felt betrayed, not because Ross worked with 50, but because Ross acted like he didn't need Meech's blessing anymore. That's the disrespect. That's the trigger. When Meech heard rumors Ross might be doing BMF-related business under 50's umbrella, he reportedly snapped, saying Ross was trying to rewrite the story again. This wasn't rap beef. This was personal. This was a boss protecting his legacy from people he felt got too comfortable with his story. Now let's talk about 50 Cent's role, because whenever 50 steps in, the plot gets 10 times messier. 50 is one of the smartest strategists the culture has ever seen. He doesn't move by accident. Every partnership, every post, every interview has a purpose. But with this Rick Ross situation, fans are split. Either 50 didn't see it coming, or he saw it coming and let it play out anyway. Remember, 50 and Ross have been enemies since the late 2000s. Diss tracks, lawsuits, viral memes, interviews with Ross's baby mama, it was messy. But as both men matured in business, they started prioritizing money over war. And that's where the confusion starts. Ross and 50 were still enemies, but suddenly they weren't acting like it. They weren't close, but they weren't at each other's throats either. It was like an unspoken ceasefire. Then Ross started supporting the BMF series, posting Lil Meech clips, mentioning 50 in business conversations, snapping pics with 50's circle, and publicly congratulating 50 on wins. Fans saw that and said Ross is playing chess, but Meech saw it a conflict of interest, because for him, 50 is official. He has the right to tell the story. Ross isn't official. He wasn't part of the real movement. He never had Meech's approval. So Meech doesn't want Ross floating around the BMF universe like he's family. That's the problem. That's the disrespect. That's why Meech reportedly snapped when he saw Ross entering 50's world. One insider said Meech felt Ross was trying to play both sides, using Meech's name for music, using 50's platform for influence, and positioning himself as a bridge between the streets and Hollywood without being invited by either side. And when a boss feels played, he clamps down, speaks up, and shuts it down. People in Meech's circle said he sent word that Ross needs to stop acting like he's part of the BMF story. Once that leaked online, the internet went wild. Fans argued, some said Meech had every right to protect his legacy, others said Ross didn't mean any harm. But no one denied one thing. This situation got messy fast, and through it all, 50 stayed quiet. That's what makes it intense, because when 50 is quiet, he's either plotting or avoiding. Meech is watching everything from behind bars, making sure nobody misrepresents his life. This isn't just a three-way beef. This is a legacy triangle, and two of the corners are colliding. So now the real question is, where does this go from here? Because with Meech reportedly snapping, Ross acting like nothing happened, and 50 staying silent, this situation is teetering on a razor's edge. And the wildest part, Every single move matters. For Meech, this isn't about clout, fame, or the Hollywood spotlight. It's about control over his own story. He didn't survive decades of real-life power plays just to let rappers or TV producers reshape his legacy without his say-so. He built BMF with blood, sweat, and strategy. And if he feels someone's misusing his name, he shuts it down immediately. For Ross, this is tricky. He probably sees it as purely business. To him, linking with 50 isn't betrayal, it's opportunity. Ross has always been a businessman. He backs who he wants, aligns with whoever serves the moment, and makes power moves regardless of the politics. But with Meech, business and respect can't be separated. If Ross wants to step into the BMF world, he goes through Meech, not 50, not publicity, not nostalgia. Meech is in the strongest position of all three. He holds the rights, he owns the show, he controls the platform. He has the leverage. He doesn't need Ross. He doesn't need the BMF family. He doesn't need approval. He already built the Hollywood version. And that's why Meech is so protective about who 50 brings near the story. Meech knows that if too many outsiders start shaping the narrative, his real-life legacy gets watered down, commercialized, and rewritten. Right now, Meech wants one thing: respect for the truth. Not the rap version, not the TV version, not the fan-made version, the real version. And Ross teaming up with 50 felt like someone stepping into Meech's blueprint without permission. That's why he snapped. Not jealousy, not ego, but because his name keeps getting used in rooms he never entered. Fans are saying this could blow up publicly. Maybe statements drop. Maybe people speak out. Maybe 50 finally comments. Maybe Ross acts like it never happened. But one thing's certain: when Big Meech speaks, the culture listens. And if he snapped now, it means he's done letting people profit off his name without following his rules. This situation isn't over.